So in this video, you'll see how I used shrink plastic to make betta fish pins or brooches. First, you'll see I am sketching out the design. Originally, I wanted to make these into earrings, but they ended up being too big to be stud earrings, so I had to change my game plan and turn them into pins. That was okay because I already had the supplies. And here are the markers that I used. I used some permanent markers and colored pencil and paint pens. Taping the shrink plastic down just helped hold it in place, and you'll see that I end up tracing the design twice because, like I said, I was going to make earrings out of this, but I ended up having to change my game plan. After making them, I realized had I punched a hole in them prior to shrinking them, they could have been dangle earrings. So maybe I'll do that in the future. So here I am tracing the second one over on the shrink plastic. The shrink plastic starts as a thin piece of plastic, and then when you heat it and it shrinks, it condenses, and that makes it thicker. And then, of course, putting resin over it also thickens it. So I cut out both of the pieces. I had to do a little extra trimming on this part. It's out of the view of the camera. I apologize. And then here's my heat gun. It's got epoxy or resin on it. And then just some tweezers to sort of guide it or hold it in place. Now, if you have control issues, like I may or may not have, this part is a little scary because once you heat it, it curls up on itself. And sometimes your project can get ruined that way. This was my first time ever making pins with shrink plastic, and it was my second time ever doing anything with shrink plastic. So as you can see, it was curling up on itself. That part was unnerving, but it ended up working out just fine. So after heating it a bit, I put cold metal on the top of it to flatten it out because other YouTubers that I have watched said that you want to flatten it with something. Unfortunately, it got stuck to the parchment paper that I was using. The parchment paper I was using was leftover parchment paper that I already had on my craft table, and so whatever was already on it got stuck to the back of the betta fish pin. But these things happen when you're crafting. I also wanted to mention some people will heat these in an oven or a toaster oven. I believe they do it at about 350, and it doesn't take long. You just watch it, and when it stops moving, that's how you know it's done being heated. And here I just kind of checked it and, reheated it as needed or just for added good measure. And then this is the second piece. And again, this part is a little unnerving, but if you hang in there, it all ends up working out just fine. So again, after it stops moving is when you know that you're done heating it. And then you just put something flat on it to flatten it down. And then, of course, this one got stuck as well. You'd think that I would have learned from the first time, but I was in the zone and didn't modify what I was doing. So they both ended up getting stuck, but it all turned out to be fine. Here is some clear gesso. Other people that I have seen do these, they either use a spray to seal it before putting the UV resin on, or they use Mod Podge. I could not find my Mod Podge, so I thought I did not have any, but like many crafters, I need to organize my craft room. I found it after the fact. As you see here, I am putting UV resin on the top and using a lighter to pop any of the bubbles and then putting it under a UV lamp so that it will cure. And so it hardens after it's under the UV lamp. And I did that on both sides of the pin. And then I also added the actual pin hardware to the backside. These would have looked a lot better had I either painted the backside with black or something like that, but unfortunately the backside had like a milky residue that I ended up having to sand off and wipe off, and I was worried that if I painted it black, it would that milky film or whatever, if any of that was left on there, I was worried that that would show up. So I just left it clear. And then, you know, if somebody pins this onto their bag or onto their shirt, then you'll be able to see the betta fish better depending on what color their bag or shirt is. And then this is how they turned out. I think they turned out pretty cute. I may use that same design and make some dangle earrings next. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.